Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Monday night MCU 11, McQ 11, Marvel Mondays, rewatch, re rank, re everything of all the Marvel movies. We're all pretty much done. We're so close to being done. This is gonna be our last regular episode of ranking them all. Episode 25, right? 25th Marvel movie we watched in a row. We're gonna find out where we rank it out of those 25. Probably not in the top 10. Let's say that, but we'll find
Wait,
out.
this is the 25th movie?
I think so. It's the 25th movie on my list on Letterboxd, or maybe 26. What is
I want to say this is the 26th one
it?
because
Ooh,
I
I
have
didn't rank
25 on
somebody.
my list. Unless I rank one movie twice.
Oh, either I missed one or you doubled up.
Uh, did you forget to rank Spider-Man Far From Home because you didn't actually watch it?
That's got to be it. Yeah, because it's not on here. Yeah. So it would be at the bottom. I think. Yeah, so that's right. So
Okay.
this is 26. A
Mm-hmm.
full quarter of 100 already. And now it's
Mm-hmm.
one over that.
We're already past the second anniversary issue.
Yeah, we're in our this is the silver anniversary in marriages. I think. But yeah, Eternals. We're talking Eternals tonight. Very different movie from all the other Marvel movies we've seen so far.
Mm-hmm. The only thing that really makes it a lot like all the other Marvel movies is there's tons of unnecessary detailing on their costumes.
Yeah, it's true. Very
Speaking
uh,
of necessary
detailed.
details,
Yeah.
here comes Rory.
Hey, hey, how are you sluggers doing?
We're good. We're good.
Good.
We're trying to count how many movies we've watched, and it's 26. 26 weeks into the year. 26
Wow.
Marvel movies we watched.
Hmm.
It's the last one, sort of, until Saturday when we watch 8 in a row. Only three of them are MCU movies, but I think they're all technically canon now since the all those
Yeah,
Spider-Man are Spider-Man in the same
Hmm.
multiverse.
that's right.
Yeah,
I
Wait, so did we start doing this on the first week of the year?
I feel like we did.
Well, if
I
that's the
hope we
case,
did.
then we're halfway through the year.
Yeah, I think that sounds right then.
Yeah, that makes sense. There would
Yeah.
uh, Hallmark was doing Christmas movies the other day because it's like half Christmas or
Yeah.
Leon or whatever kind of random weird thing that we've decided to brand half the year at.
All right.
Like I've heard like a bunch of different ones. By a
Yeah.
bunch, I mean Leon and Half Christmas.
Yeah. Which is it's enough. But you hear it enough where it feels like it's a lot of things.
Hmm.
Really, it's just the one thing.
Yeah.
it just seems weird to me that we need half Christmas. Like it already takes up a month and a half worth of everybody's time, and then we do it again in July. Like I don't.
Yeah, and I don't. I'm not. I'm Orthodox Christian Christmas that way. Not Christian at all, but I am very. I just get
Orthodox
yeah.
Christmas, not
My
Christian.
Christmas. Yeah, my Christmas is December 25th, and that's it. It's the way God wanted it, but not like Christian God, the God of holidays. One of the Eternals, I think, invented Christmas. We'll learn. Yeah, of the
That
10
would.
Eternals, which one do you think is based Santa Claus on? That's gotta be.
It's got to be Gilgamesh, right?
Oh yeah, he's the biggest and jolliest.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was the guy from India.
No,
Uh,
Mm.
Kumail's
I
guy, Kingo.
I forgot. Yeah, Kingo. I forget what everybody's name is
Oh, so that's
all
gonna
the
bring us
time.
into our recap, plot recap, which is this movie's got a lot of plot and a lot of things happening in various time eras. So I think it'd be easier just to go through each of the 10 Eternals, who they are and what their deal is, and then that kind of will cover the whole movie. I think
Okay.
instead of
Let me
just
just
doing
look
Sure.
up
plot
who.
points.
Let
Yeah,
me just pull up the cast list
we
here
might have
so
to
I
pull up
can.
the Wikipedia page to remind ourselves
Yeah.
who everybody's name is.
Oh yeah, no, right. I do that every time we have to do a plot recap.
Ah,
Like, what? Oh, that movie that I watched yesterday or the day before
yeah.
that. Yeah, I need to remind myself what it was.
And who was in it?
Yep. So, Wikipedia has the top cast member as Cersei,
Ah,
be the. Well, I mean, she is pretty obviously the
Yeah.
main character.
yeah, she's definitely the main character and has the most story out of
Mhm.
everybody.
Wait, do we want to start with her, or do we want to start like from
feel
the
like-
bottom of the list?
Yeah, I think we should end with Icarus and Cersei.
Okay.
Okay.
Start
Alright,
with
so
the more minor people.
The bottom of the list would be from Wikipedia's list would be Thena,
Athena.
Okay.
Yes.
who is
So she,
Athena, except without the A,
yeah,
as she clarifies at the end of the movie.
which is just her deal, right? That's all we're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah,
right
just
now?
what her deal is, what's kind of
Ah.
her arc in the movie, and then we'll get into our opinions and all that stuff.
We'll get
Okay.
into our opinions of how badly this movie fucks up every mythology later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So her thing is that she's the super badass. That's crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She suffers from mad weary.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't remember how it's pronounced in the movie. I just remember like when I
got a
saw
weird
it written
spelling.
down, I'm just like,
Yeah.
mad weary?
yeah.
So weird.
She's just got like the mad weary broth. I don't know what the eternal Boston accent is, but that is who figured that out.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
she creates light weapons and fights with them. Super good at fighting. That's her thing. She fights. Fight, fight. Itchy and scratchy.
Thank you for finishing that song, so it wasn't stuck in my head. Yeah, so she goes crazy. She gets all of her memories dumped on her at once and gets the mad weary, and so she goes and lives in the middle of nowhere with Gilgamesh, who's taking care of her. She's kind of like someone with like Alzheimer's, so it makes her just lose track of where she is and just try to kill whoever's nearby.
Which Alzheimer's would be a lot more fun if all of those people had light weapons and
Yeah.
Mhm.
were fine until they went on Killnado. Like
Yeah.
that would be
Old folks' homes would be a crazy adventure.
oh man, it would be so much fun. I think I would like old people more.
Hmm.
Yeah, because most
Like-
old people can try to be killing you, and it'll just be flailing their old Mr. Burns arms at you.
Which I would still be okay with. I don't need
Yeah.
this to be like full marveled out. Just
Yeah.
if old people like take note, if you just randomly started trying to kill people, not using guns,
Right.
I would be okay with it.
Has to be non-projectile weaponry.
Yeah.
I will take spear guns.
Oh,
And
Okay.
like
I was just thinking Nerf swords.
no, I'll let them go at a crowd with a spear gun,
Wow.
but no sneak attacks with a projectile weapon.
Hmm. You need to announce your intent
Yeah,
before you fire.
like you have to challenge people,
Yeah.
not just murder.
Right.
Like, that's the difference. Is like if you're 70 or better and you want to challenge anyone to a fight to the death, I will let you go if
Yeah.
you win.
You need to follow like basic duel etiquette of like introducing yourself and things like that. Slapping someone with a glove.
I really like this idea. I do feel like it makes old people a little OP though, so I feel
Yeah.
like we have to take something away from them in response to that. So
Right.
let's say they can challenge anyone to a duel at any time,
Right.
and it's not going to end up getting them in trouble with the law, but they don't get to have offices anymore.
Yeah. If
They
you're
got to stop running our country.
yeah,
I-
like once
I
you're
would
at that point, you can't be
Yeah,
working.
or if we just took away
In
their
any way.
ability to vote,
Mhm.
Yeah.
like your vote is now in Death Arena, and that's it. Like,
Mhm.
and you can still make it count. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like just start dueling people who have opposite political beliefs, like your grandchild who has some weird liberal views.
Yeah.
Break
him.
out the spear gun.
Yeah.
fight them to the death. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Wakanda rules.
Yeah, and here's the thing: if a whole bunch of liberal grandchildren start getting offed because they can't fight off their grandparents, maybe we're wrong.
Hmm.
It's
You
true.
know,
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
exactly. Who's
Anyway,
the second
so
person?
next to the bottom of the list, uh, the other person who really you would think would be closer to the top of the list would be Ajak, who is the leader of the
Right.
Eternals.
I think
Uh,
there's also just the ranking on the list. I think it's kind of like in credits order, where like Angelina Jolie and Salma Hayek get like the and the with at the end of
mhm,
the list of credits people. That's probably why they're at the bottom. But anyways, go on.
that makes
Ajax,
sense.
what's your deal?
Yeah, Ajak. So she's the leader of the Eternals. Ajak is actually uh, not the. Uh, they changed the comic character to create Ajak in this movie. The real character from the comics would have been Zuras or Zorus. I'm not sure exactly how it's supposed to be pronounced, but it's Zeus with an extra A. You take the
Oh,
A from Athena
right,
and then you move it into Zeus, and that's the Eternals. Everybody,
right.
that's how much thought went into these.
Uh-huh. It was like, oh, this is all about like the Eternals, but they're the Greek gods. And then like the rest of the people at Marvel were like, but we're already using the Greek gods. And he was like, oh, I figured it out. I just word jumbled their names.
Hmm. And
And,
there's supposed to also be other gods, except
yeah,
they only ever get referred to as the Greek names, except for like a couple of them, like Gilgamesh.
yeah. Which they don't even change his name at all. I
No.
think
Hmm.
that would be one that would over the centuries have changed a
No,
little
at
bit.
least they didn't
Somebody's, yeah.
go with his name in more later Marvel comics, which is the Forgotten One.
Oh,
Yeah. Um, I I hate the Eternals. I'm sorry. I I I feel like the Eternals is like it's not even just it's not like the movie. I like the movie
mm,
just fine for what it was,
right.
which is like I feel like the it'd be like if somebody like looked in the kitchen and tried to make a meal out of the dumpster fire that they found in there.
Right.
That's what this movie is, and it's a fine attempt at that.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to think that I'm shitting on the MCU for that. And I also understand greenlighting it because like the Inhumans also suck because they're tied directly to the Eternals.
Mm,
And you didn't have the X-Men, so you had to make this movie. I get that.
Mhm. It is it is sort of the opposite of Papa John's, where the slogan "Better ingredients, better pizza."
oh yeah.
Eternals is worse ingredients, worse
Yeah.
pizza.
Yeah. Not a good pizza.
Not that Papa John's is the greatest pizza
Yeah.
or anything. I know that there's a lot of people that don't like Papa John's. I personally enjoy it, but that's also because I've worked for them off and on over the course of my adult life. Basically, every time I'm unemployed for too long a period of time, I'm just like, well, I know how to make pizza.
Right. And you know how to do it the Papa John's way,
Yeah.
where they still put all the toppings under the cheese. That's always weird to me.
Yeah, except for pepperoni.
Yeah.
Pepperoni goes on top.
Nah. Strange.
I
Everything
I
else
uh,
goes under.
Yeah. But
Oh,
speaking of
and
pizza, I will.
anchovies.
Ah.
I moved here from Washington, and in Washington, Papa John's direct competition is Papa Murphy's
Hmm.
that I worked for. That
Ah.
their whole thing is better ingredients, but they don't bake it.
You
So it it costs it's cheaper than most pizza places because they're not paying for the just the oven to be constantly on.
right.
Um, but that was the beginning of my distaste for Papa John's is like, oh, it's the
Mm.
same pizza. It's just not cooked, or it's cooked. I can make this at work. So
Right.
hmm
Now, of course, I was a McDonald's boy, so I don't believe in any pizza. Any food that you can't eat while driving, I don't consider real food.
I
Well, are you going to be eating not real food on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm gonna eat an entire Boston's pizza, even though it's not actually food, on Saturday. I tried it 2 years ago for our I think it was the sixth season of Lost marathon we did, and could not finish it in I think 12 hours.
okay.
But now we've got
So-
18. 8 movies. I think there's 8 slices in a pizza, right? So I think I can do it this time.
Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and jump in on this with you, except I'm
Mhm.
not going to get a Boston's pizza because I just
Okay.
found out Little Caesars is in town.
Oh
Yeah. They
Um,
opened up right by Anna's,
Yeah.
where Domino's used to be.
So I'll get a Little Caesars pizza. But that will be my food for.
Okay.
I was planning on eating a Domino's pizza
Oh.
on Saturday because there's Domino's very close to my office, so I can pick it up when I'm leaving on Friday.
Nice.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
so we
gonna
can
have to grab out the
decide.
way. Yeah.
We can decide which one of our pizzas is Sam Raimi, which one is just straight Sony, and which
Right.
one of us is MCU.
Mhm.
That will be our
Our pizza rankings.
yeah.
Yeah. Also, if anyone knows why there's so many different Boston's pizzas here that are unrelated, I need to know. 'Cause it's very strange.
Anyway, Ajax has the power of healing.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's in charge. She knows that they're there to raise a celestial baby from the
Uh-huh.
earth, and she's
Mhm.
down with that for a while, and then decides not to be at some point for some reason, and then gets fed to wolf monsters.
Yep.
For that.
That's also to make sure that Angelina Jolie doesn't have to share much screen time with her
That's true.
because Selma Hayek is still rocking being hot, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
Angelina Jolie looks like what happens if you try meth once and then quit.
Oh, we have very different opinions on these ladies. We'll get to it.
I do want to say that Salma Hayek is definitely way hotter,
Mm.
but I gotta say I'm not gonna say no to meth is a sometimes drug. That's totally a lie. I will say no to that. I have
Yeah.
in the past. Moving on the list. The next character that we have is Dane Whitman, not an Eternal.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't even know who that. Which one is that?
That's
Kit Harington.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Wow.
Cersei's boyfriend.
Right, and there's also some other mystery superhero, I guess, with a sword.
Yeah.
The
He's the Black Knight.
Ah,
Yeah, and at the end of the movie, he is about to take the Black Knight's sword, the Ebony Blade, and then Blade is just like, "Hey, you sure you want to do that?"
Blade.
Yeah.
Nice.
I did
That's
not
what-
catch that was him. Damn. Okay.
In the theaters, I was like turning to my friends. Was that Blade's voice? Was that Masahara Ali?
That's,
Oh, and it's not Wesley Snipes. Of course, it's
No.
probably not. It can't be. He's
No, it's not.
60 years old now.
Yeah, it's not Wesley Snipes. It's the new Blade, Mahershala, Mashallah. Yeah,
I don't know how to
Ursula.
say it. Have you
the
guys
guy,
seen
the
him?
guy from Moonlight.
Cool.
Have you seen him in Luke Cage?
Yes, and he was great.
Yeah.
I felt like the season definitely took a turn once it.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Mhm.
I found out they were making Blade, and I was like, really? And then they announced him, and I was like, fuck it, I'm in.
Mhm.
Because Blade can be really cool, but it can also be Wesley Snipes.
Mhm.
I think Wesley Snipes is cool.
It really depends on how many motherfuckers are trying to ice skate uphill.
It's true. And regardless of whether or not it makes any sense when he says it.
hmm So that's Dane Steele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next on the cast list is Karun, Kingo's
Oh.
valet.
Yes.
Also not an Eternal.
Right.
He's Kingo's valet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys have seen Indiana Jones, right?
Hmm.
Like, so imagine if Sala wasn't as cool. That's it. Like, same
But purposely
exact
not
thing.
as cool.
Right. Yeah.
And I just want to point out that Sala was fucking dope,
Hmm.
but same character.
Yeah.
Next,
He's,
Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh. He's the big bruiser of the team, right?
Yeah.
Played by a Korean actor. I forgot his name.
Don Lee.
Yeah, Don Lee. He's fun. Cool guy's
Yeah.
power is he has energy fists, I guess.
If you are
And
not familiar with Asian people, you may confuse him with Wong.
That's
Just kind of
true.
that Wong feel
Um,
to him. Yeah.
I am familiar with Asian people, but I did want to make sure that he was in Train to Busan.
Mhm.
Oh,
which
was he?
is,
Oh,
um,
okay.
It's a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
enjoy him in everything that I've seen him in so far, which I want to say is Train to Busan and one other thing, and I can't remember what that thing was.
Right.
Um,
And
but,
this he did a good job.
Yeah, no, he was
Did a whole
great.
lot, yeah.
He was. He didn't really get a whole lot of screen time, but he was
Mm.
extremely charming.
and that's exactly how he is in almost everything that I've seen, with varying amount of screen time. But he's
Right.
always like, no matter what character he's playing, you're like, I don't like this character, but this guy's charming.
Yeah.
Like,
Just got that charisma.
I do think that it would be cool if him and Wong hung out though, because like they have like they do both have like a subtle like kind of like macho manly charm,
Mhm.
where it's like
Right.
it's like, oh, this is what masculinity is like when it's not toxic at all.
Right.
But it's still
Yeah.
masculine. It's just not toxic. Like I
Yeah.
those guys are cool.
Oh,
But yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he makes light things around his hand, so he punches extra hard.
Yeah. He's got to get good at punching. He gets killed and his power is absorbed by the main deviant guy.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's sad.
And Druig.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Druig is basically the guy that looks like the serial killing rapist, but turns out to not being the bad guy.
Right.
They completely set you up to think that he's going to be the bad guy
Yeah.
in the second half of the movie.
Yeah, because he
And
does.
it turns out that no, he wants to mind control humanity for good.
Because he's a break with the team. I think he's the first person to break from the team when they kill the last deviant. And he's like, okay, well, we don't have to kill deviants anymore, and we can use our powers to like stop wars and things. And like, no, we're not allowed to do that. And he's like, oh, well, that's wrong, and then leaves the team and stops the one war that they're looking at, and then goes and lives in the jungle in an Ewok village, and doesn't stop any more wars because I guess he didn't really believe in what he was talking about that much. But also he's in love with the speed lady, the Flash girl.
Makari.
Yes.
But yeah, I do have to say that one of the things that I do like about the Eternals, and it's not a lot of things, but one of the things that I do like is that they don't all have the same politics. So like, even though they might have the same general goal, the way they go about doing it is different, and I enjoy that aspect of them, and I feel like that's portrayed a little bit cleaner than they do in like something like the Avengers, where I feel like the Avengers, they clean up any difference of opinion within a short arc, and with the Eternals, it feels like most people in Druig don't get along all of the time. Right. They just agree that like wiping out all life is bad.
Right.
So, who's the next one?
The aforementioned Makari, the one that can move at superhuman speed and is also deaf.
Yeah. But super sensitive to vibrations, which I think means that you can. That's what hearing is. But she can't speak either. So everyone uses sign language, which is pretty cool that we have a character that does that.
Mhm.
But yeah, she doesn't really get to do. She doesn't have much of an arc or story really in the
No.
movie.
They
Other than-
they actually during the portion of the movie where they're going and finding all of the and all of the Eternals and being like,
Mm.
oh, so what were you up to for the
Right.
last few hundred years? They don't even ask her. They're
Yeah.
just like, oh, hey, look at all your stuff, and then let's keep moving the plot.
Yeah, we don't need that. We don't need to figure that out. Got 8 other people to talk to.
Mhm.
And I'm just gonna go ahead and say that, like, I do like the new spirit of inclusivity, and having superpowered people that are, have different things like being deaf or unable to speak. And I do understand that super speed might make it so that hearing wasn't your biggest thing, because if you're moving faster than sound,
Yeah,
why does it
That's
matter?
true. Yeah.
Oh, that
but-
makes sense.
Yeah.
Not bad about that, but yeah.
So I get that part of it. Like, if she had evolved to have super speed, I can understand why sound would be one of the things that dropped
Right.
out. But like, if you're manufactured,
Yeah. If you were designed that way, that's odd.
that doesn't make any sense to me.
You're
at all.
designed to kill these hunt down and kill giant monsters. Maybe
Right.
don't take away people's senses.
Exactly.
From your
Like-
Unless you're
weapon.
going to take like one sense away from like all of them and turn them into the 5 deadly venoms,
Right.
or
Is that-
Revenge of the 5 deadly venoms, I should say.
I'm just throwing, like,
Well,
that's
Snow
one of
Brothers
my
movie.
things that
Yeah.
I have, that I am upset with in general in comics, and how they're approaching inclusivity is that they're looking at characters like Mercari, which don't have a substantial following or something like that, and then making this the one cool thing to be like, look, we have a deaf character, and it's like, there's a lot of characters you could make deaf and it would make total sense. This is a manufactured super being. Why this one?
Yeah.
And if you're looking at characters that, especially something like the Eternals movie,
Hmm.
you could make up characters whole cloth, and the amount of people that would know the difference would be like 783. Like no one else would
Right.
be. I would be any the wiser.
Uh-huh.
Like you don't have to do that to previously existing characters.
Right.
Not that I'm saying that that's bad. Like one of the things that I enjoy about Hawkeye, once we get to his show, is they actually show like his hearing aid and everything.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, moving
And,
on.
and
Yeah.
yeah, just throwing in there, like, if you disable a character that
Mhm.
previously had ability and then take that away, I'm totally down with that.
Right.
Like Hawkeye, where it's like, oh, it makes sense that the guy who doesn't have superpowers or any kind of healing, he's going to start showing some mileage. That makes sense. I
Yeah.
like that.
Right.
Mhm.
And once again, like, totally fine if it's if you change a character in a way to make them more inclusive, but also makes sense.
Mhm.
Like, totally
so
down for
we're
that.
gonna get to
Yeah.
Phastos in a minute, and like I don't think he's a gay man in the comics, but like having him be gay in it doesn't change his effectiveness as a kill bot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm willing to move on. Just
Yeah. Cool.
just throwing that out
Yeah.
there.
But that's her deal. She doesn't get a lot going in this
Mm.
movie.
Yeah, Phastos is the next one that we're
Okay.
talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Ah.
he's
He does
He-
machines.
like Donatello.
And I liked this is a good example of exactly what you're saying. It's like I liked that A, he was a gay character, and B, I liked how they showed his family life affecting his decision making in the movie.
Right.
Like
Hmm.
that was something that was new. It seemed like it was important to the character. I understood the decision making. Like that was a good example of how that should be done.
Yeah.
But other
He
than
also,
that,
yeah. I think in the movie, like he he breaks from trying to do anything to help humanity anymore. After I guess he is somehow involved in the making the nuclear bomb. Then after Hiroshima, he's like, people aren't worth saving, so I'm gonna step out and live a life among people. I guess.
Yeah,
That's the whole thing.
it really makes you wonder, like, was it one of the earlier steps that he helped humanity out with,
Mm,
or was he like part of the Manhattan Project in the
right.
MCU?
Yeah.
But
I
they don't answer those questions.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell where he enters into the thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, and he's also during the final fight against Icarus. He's like the only person that can actually do anything against him by
Hmm.
using his technology, super rings and things. Yeah.
And next on the list is Sprite.
Sprite.
She can make illusions.
Yeah. It's a
Mhm.
trickster god.
Yeah.
The one that they based Loki off of, I think, in Norse mythology.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
that's actually how it is in the MCU. Is the Norse were just like, well, how are we going to pretend to be Eternals?
Yeah. You probably met some like, oh, we'll do what they're doing. We have to interact with these people. Yeah, and then she's got the Peter Pan disease, where she's the little kid forever, which is
Mhm.
also strange choice when you're making murder robots.
Yeah. Like, and the thing is like I can legitimately understand that if you're creating murder robots to basically take over all aspects of a species, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one child bot would make sense in the
Right.
fact that like, oh, the child bot can get places that adults can't. But like, why make it want to grow up? Like
Right.
that's the thing is like, if you're gonna make a child bot, make it happy to be a kid. Like I don't.
No, I think that the child bot didn't. I was totally fine with being a kid for a few hundred years.
Yeah. I think it's only by seeing other kids and people growing up and being able to do adult stuff is like, oh, that's what I want to do. But it's weird that they have feelings and things, anyways.
Yeah.
But
Being
And
space
that's
murder robots.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
That's-
because he does the creator does a great job of making one killer robot that's great at just murking things. So it's like they should have just been a team of Athenas, and then it would have been done.
if it was just Thena's and Icarus's,
Yeah.
no problem.
Like maybe one Ajax,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
Just to keep him under control.
every once in
Yeah.
a while you're gonna screw up a little bit.
Yeah.
Needs healing.
But like, also, why do you need a healer bot? Like that.
Oh
just
yeah,
doesn't-
Phaestos could actually fill that role too because they're robots.
Yeah.
like
They don't know they're robots, right? So that's the whole thing.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, this a lot of their lore just doesn't make sense. We just have to
Yeah.
accept it to watch the movie.
Hmm. And then we have Kingo.
We don't have to like it. Yeah, Kingo. That's Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah,
Kingo.
who got super jacked for this movie.
Yeah,
yeah.
and doesn't even take his shirt off. So we just have to guess. Yeah, They don't. Did they say why he leaves the team whenever it is he does?
Yeah. He says that he
Okay, I
doesn't
missed
want to
it.
fight anybody.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. He shoots lasers out of his fingers. He has to make finger guns and shoot lasers out.
Pew 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 pew.
pew.
Which
And he's-
like makes sense that you get super jacked when you can shoot lasers out of your
Yeah.
Mhm.
like.
The best part about Kingo, well, my two favorite things about him. One is that occasionally he will actually make sound effects when he's
Yes.
firing his laser fingers, The second thing is that he decided that he was going to be a famous actor, and he poses as his child in each generation as
Yeah.
well. And like he's like, oh yeah, the previous generation of me is like he's old now. He's not in the movies. It's me who looks just like my dad,
Yeah.
and he just decided like, yeah, that's gonna be the ticket.
Well, and
Yeah.
you got to think that there's like generations of being like, I've adopted this kid to be me, and now that you're about 19, you're going to disappear for a couple of years before you look exactly like me, and then I'm going to kill you and take over your life.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, what's one life for stardom?
Right?
Also, yeah, I think that's also the way that the mayor of Sunnydale goes about doing things. I
Mm.
recall
And the
the third season
Highlanders.
of Buffy. Yeah. Is he playing the? Is he telling people he's the same lineage of his grandfather and things?
Yes.
If they see
Uh-huh.
pictures, I don't remember all
Yeah.
that stuff. Okay.
Yeah, like he specifically points out that he is part of the greatest dynasty in Bollywood history.
Oh yeah, he does. I was thinking the Highlander.
Mhm.
Oh no, the Highlander will also just keep flat out saying that who he is. Like, Highlander's not really good about the whole secret identity thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, what does he have to worry about? Unless it's another Highlander,
Yeah.
he's
Nobody
gonna
can do
heal.
anything to him. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of people who are kind of OP, Icarus.
Yeah.
So we got the murder robot space Superman.
Yeah.
mhm.
Can fly. He can shoot lasers out of his eyes. He also can rip the heads off of monsters, and cannot be hurt.
Hmm. I remember when I first saw the trailers for Eternals, like I saw what they were doing with Icarus, and I was just like, oh, are they actually are they trying to make us think that he's going to be the good guy because he's Superman, and they're
No.
gonna not really flesh out his character at all, and just let us assume that because he's Superman, obviously he's a good guy?
Right.
And they fleshed it out a
Basically.
little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. But other than that, I was just like, holy shit, I was right. For once, I
Yeah.
was right. Because I'm usually very bad at predicting these things.
This is one more data point of why this is not a good movie. Because
Yeah.
Chad can predict the plot
Mhm.
in the trailer.
Chad can predict your plot. You done fucked up. But yeah, so he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't know that until the end.
Hmm.
And yeah, so it's those are his powers. He kind of what's it? Kingo's like a loyal follower of Icarus, I guess. Not really.
Hmm.
It's just something that he mentions at the end of the movie. But yeah, he's still loyal to their purpose. Icarus is of being there to birth a celestial up until the very end when he changes his mind. Without anybody talking to him about it, he just does. He just remembers that he loves the woman that he's always kind of in love with the whole movie, anyways.
And that
And then
woman
flies into the
is
sun. Cersei,
the
the
last
number
one on
one
the
Eternal.
list.
Yes. Gemma Chan, who we've seen already as somebody in space, right?
Dr.
Right.
Minerva
Uh,
or Minerva
Minerva.
in
She's a doctor? Dr.
in the
Sniper?
comics. In the comics,
Oh.
she's a doctor. I don't recall whether or not she's Dr. Min Dash Irva in the comics.
Hmm.
I just remember Dr. Minerva, and I know that in the movie she is Min Dash Irva.
Yeah, one of the Kroll sniper from not Kroll. Yeah,
Kree
Kree sniper from
Yeah.
from
from
Captain
Captain
Marvel's
Marvel.
Kree team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She is dating the Black Knight, but she doesn't know he's the Black Knight.
Mhm.
She doesn't know that her ex-boyfriend wants to destroy the planet. She like goes through most of this not knowing a whole lot of stuff. I feel like
Yeah.
that she should know. Yeah.
Yeah, but after Ajax dies, she becomes the leader of the
Mhm.
Eternals and gets to meet with what's his face? Not Galactus. What's his name? Ashram.
Ashram.
Arishem.
Arishem. Arishem. Yeah, and then he tells her straight up that they are murder robots.
Yeah.
They're to murder all the deviants, and that they're not real people. They're just automatons or something made for this one purpose. As though she was gonna take that a good way. I don't know. It's so weird. He kind of tells her what the whole plan is with that and the birthing of the Celestials, and she does not react well to that, which is understandable.
Her powers are basically she's alchemy.
Yeah, with hand by touch.
Yeah, she touches things and turns them into other things,
Yeah.
which is how at the end of the movie they defeat the baby Celestial.
Yeah.
They turn it into a giant marble statue. The Celestial that is large enough to rip the planet into pieces.
Right.
Which you gotta think is bad for a planet to have just like
Yeah.
a huge chunk of it all of a sudden turned into marble.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And just to be moving out of one end of it, like there's got to be like a hole, like in Australia or something now, right? The size of a.
Not necessarily. The hole might be more towards the middle.
Oh, okay. Now we have that Hollow Earth thing, which is, I guess those guys were right.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking knew it.
But that's all the characters.
Yeah. Also, she and Icarus, they dated for 5,000 years. 5 out of the 7,000 years they were together. Married, and they have sex.
They got married, yeah.
Yeah.
And the first MCU couple to actually have sex.
Yeah, on screen. So that's pretty cool.
Finally, we got something for the end credits.
Yeah.
Of this, you know.
Wait, are we going to use that, or are we going to use the gay kiss?
Oh yeah, I feel like it would be better to use the gay kiss, but you know.
Because like kiss is the theme, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But
although they are kissing when they have sex.
Yeah, it's true. And I didn't know that sex scenes were an option. And they weren't until today.
Until movie number 26.
Yeah. Wonder what they'll do for movie 69. We'll find out in 15 years.
Whatever it is, it's going to be nice.
Yeah.
It's going to be the first gay robot sex scene with no kissing whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
They're just doing Iron Man role play, and that's it.
One of them's Iron Man, the other one is Pretty Woman. No kissing.
Okay, yeah, so that's the plot of the movie, basically, right? It's pretty much everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's everything, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So what, David? I feel like we should start out with what you thought of this, just because I feel like it's impossible for me to give a not.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like when we find out that it's all it's all these Greek gods or mythical gods and things, people that are actually they're actually superheroes the whole time. Like I think that's a fine, clever enough idea for a comic book from the '60s. I think when I see that kind of stuff in a modern day movie, I'm like, you guys have better ideas. So that's always kind of a turnoff. In this movie, it had a lot of that Justice League feel of like, why do I have to see so many people I don't know? Then, like, there's so much exposition in this movie, right? Like, it's constantly having the flashbacks to tell us what's going on, and characters, whenever they're talking to each other, they're just telling them about their history together. For so much of the movie, I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like what's going on. I don't care about most of these characters. Right up until we see the Hiroshima bombing, and like, wait a second, this movie is taking itself real seriously. I need to re-examine what's going on here. So I just was putting it in like, this is like a bad like DC style movie in the MCU, which I'm not digging, and I still don't like it. But I kind of started thinking more about, like, Chloe Zhao made the movie, right? She just won before she made this. She won the Oscar for Nomadland for Best Picture, so she knows what she's doing as a filmmaker. And you see all of these themes and stuff about like the existentialism and things, that how they all question their purpose and all these things, and the way they deal with it from so many different perspectives. And like, there's cool things that are happening at that thematic level, but it's still in a movie that I'm not enjoying watching. Yeah. That's really my takeaway of it. It's not good, but it's very different from other MCU movies, and it's trying something different with that. So that's cool. But at the same time, yes, it's it's not an enjoyable movie to watch.
That's that. I feel like that's a lot more fairness than I could give it.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah. But when we get into the actual, the story of it and the plot and the characters and their various powers and things, then it does kind of get like, oh, yeah, I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm not digging it.
Like, what? How about you, Chad? What were your thoughts?
I enjoyed the movie far, far more than I expected to. When they announced that they were going to make an Eternals movie, I asked either the first or second question that most people ask. Because the first question that I think most people ask is either who or
Right.
why.
Ah,
And I asked why, because I kind of knew who the Eternals were, and it was just like it seemed like a mind-boggling decision for Marvel to be like, yeah, let's go ahead and make the second-rate. Or I'm sorry, not second rate. Jack Kirby's second try at making cool godlike characters into a movie. Like we had such great success with Guardians of the Galaxy, we now are going to suffer from hubris and reach for the sun.
yeah. Just
Uh,
not have any fun with it.
yep. And I watched the movie, and I said, all I really wanted from the movie was
Yeah.
to be interested in these characters.
Mm,
Like if I can find at least more than one character who I'm like, I wish that I knew more about this person,
right.
that it would feel like a movie that deserved to exist. And honestly, almost every single character in this movie I find interesting. I
Right.
would like to know more about. I would like to know about their history, what they were doing during the, whatever
Right.
amount of time that's not being covered. Uh, that being said, it's a narrative mess.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah,
I
so
go
I
ahead.
had something that it made me think of. You're talking about the characters and stuff. Like it's like an hour into the movie, I think, is when they finally go and they get Kingo off the movie set and they get on the plane and they're starting to interact with each other and like Dustin Balls Night. You're seeing more of the relationships and things. And like this is like the first time I'm like interested in the movie. I think is at that point. I'm like, oh
This
hey,
movie should have been a series.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, series or even like a book. Or I mean, it's probably I guess it was a comic book, and that's probably where it shined. But yeah, as a movie, it's hard.
the I'll get into the comic book in a minute.
Okay.
Just the movie as is. I understand on a macro vision why you would need to bring in the Eternals, and why that makes sense, because like a celestial being stillbirthed on the planet means stuff for the rest of the universe. They've shown off the Celestials a couple of times,
Right.
and we as like a world need, or as the viewers need to know more about the Celestials and just why they're a thing for the MCU. If you're going to bring in the Celestials a little bit, you have to bring in a lot of it. Narratively, I agree. This thing's a mess. If not making it its own TV show, they should have made this a 3-movie thing where it took place in 3 distinct times, because it felt like they pulled a DC and tried to go straight to Infinity War, and I didn't care.
Yeah.
Similarly, as to what Chad was saying, like making Icarus the bad guy, like it didn't feel like a surprise or a turncoat. I didn't feel betrayed or hurt. It was just like, oh, okay, so he's a bad guy now. I didn't care enough.
Yeah, and also it makes you question what his plan is then, or was up until that point.
And when I said almost every character, I was interested to know
Right.
what they were doing and learning more about them. He was the other one.
Hmm.
Well, and that's the thing is like I feel like this is always like the hard part when you're doing like these really old characters. And since we brought it, got brought up, I feel like Highlander actually does a really good job with it of
Yeah.
um, old characters not being surprised by shit happening. They
Hmm.
can still be interested in it, but not being world weary, but at the same time, not just being like, "Oh, betrayal! You're kidding me!" Because it's like the Eternals
Yeah.
are like what 1,000,000 years old,
Right.
and they are surprised that sometimes people betray people they care about. Like that hasn't happened so often that all of them gave up on humanity
Right.
being the plot of this story. Like it just is one of those things that just strikes me as bad writing that like Cersei was walking around looking like, oh, what's going on? Like, I want to follow this mystery. How are they coming back? When it's like your whole thing was making sure these guys don't come, or are killing these deviants.
Right.
They've shown up. You should just be like, oh, this is what I do. Like,
Right.
I don't know.
That's
Like,
what we're supposed to be. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I've been hanging out for thousands of years without doing this. No purpose to my life.
um, I understand why they did it in the comic books,
Hmm.
but why in the MCU they decided to take the weakest part of the Eternals and just be like, oh yeah, up until now we were sworn to not really get involved, so we didn't.
Right. Yeah, and
Um,
it's such a dumb thing when you start piling on the parts with the whole reason that they're actually there. The real reason they're there is to safeguard humanity until there's enough sentient life, right, for to feed the baby celestial, which would mean that they should be there. So when like aliens invade and things, they should actually be stopping that, not just only the one kind of alien, like any kinds of aliens that are there to kill all humanity or whatever, like in the first Avengers.
yeah,
They really should have been there, right? Or when they're dropping nuclear, when humans are dropping nuclear weapons on each other, it's like that's gonna really set us back.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
well, and also just like the general thing of like, why would you make murder robots to fulfill a purpose and then not tell? Like the whole reason you get robots to do your bidding is so that you don't have to cover up the secret shit you're up to because
Right.
robots don't care.
Yeah, but then you give them
Like,
feelings and
yeah, like
sentience and stuff.
like if I was creating a sex bot, I wouldn't also have a sex bot that like felt upset that I didn't talk to it,
Right.
that my penis was small,
Right.
wanted to do more interesting things than
Yeah.
I was interested in.
Right.
Like,
Or was ever
I wouldn't
programmed
put-
to not, consent? Like, oh,
Yeah.
it's a robot that gets bored of having sex with you, your sex bot.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's not what I have a sex bot for.
like I question the wisdom of the Celestials, which is something that we shouldn't be questioning. Like,
Because they created all the life in the universe.
yeah,
It's strange.
it doesn't make sense. And it's not even like it doesn't make sense in like a higher planes kind, like Doctor Strange doesn't make sense, but like he's at least being like, I'm dealing with things other than physics. So yeah, some of this
Right.
doesn't make sense when
Yeah.
you try to apply our
Yeah.
logic to it.
Right.
But like,
But even though they make sense according to whatever rules it is that they're setting up in general.
right, and
But
the
this-
Celestials are just don't, like they made bad decisions, not
Right.
The Eternals feels like a step 3,
Hmm.
not like a step 2. Because step 1 was the deviants, as they explained in the movie.
Right.
They have the deviants that they introduce to planets in order to make sure that anything that would be a greater predator or a danger to the intelligent life is picked off by the deviants.
Right.
And unfortunately, uh, the deviants, after having picked off whatever apex predators were above the thing that was going to evolve into intelligent life or was already kind of there, was just like, okay, now it's time to eat the
Yeah.
intelligent
I
life.
guess I'm the apex predator now. I'm the
Yeah,
captain of predatoring now.
and you would think that there would be a step two
Mm,
before the sentient murder robots came in.
right.
Like, if you're familiar with DC's cosmic stuff, they have the Manhunters, who
Mm,
were the guardians of the universes. They were the precursor to the Green Lantern Corps
mm,
because they're just like, oh, we need to actually have sentient creatures carrying out all of our laws and
right.
ensuring the safety of the universe because these robots just end up murdering everything.
Yeah.
And so the Eternals feels like they should be a step three, where it's like there should be a reason why they're sentient.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I would even understand if they were never meant to be murder bots, if they were
Mhm.
just meant to like foster intelligent life. But
Right.
that
But that's
that being said, like I I feel like just script wise, like this general concept of like creating mindless murder machines and then a murder machine that goes in and murders your murder machine um, is basically done better by Resident Evil.
mm,
Mhm.
Like the tyrants are just eternal zombies.
right.
Like
It's I it's kind of like an invasive species metaphor, I want to
Yeah.
say. Like, what was it? In order to get some of the bugs, they introduced the
Right.
frogs, and then the
Mm,
frogs overpopulate. So we're like, oh, we got to get something to eat the frogs, and you
yeah.
introduce mongooses or something, and then
Like
you're like, oh
snakes.
man, there's too many. Oh yeah, the snakes eat the frogs,
Right.
and then the mongooses eat the snakes. You're just like, oh,
Yeah.
we have to keep on trying to
Right.
fix this problem,
Yeah.
and
Well, then
that's
you have
what.
the monkeys that kill the mongooses, and then what kills the monkeys? It's they freeze to death in the winter,
Mhm.
which is the end of it in The Simpsons. I don't remember the full chain.
But that's what it feels like the Celestials are doing,
Right.
except we only got step one and two,
Yeah.
yeah.
or
And
step
it's
one and three
yeah.
rather.
Right. And they have the prime directive of not interfering with human civilization and their wars and stuff. But then they accomplish their mission, right? That they've been told of stopping all of the deviants, and so then they
Also,
just hang
there
out for another few thousand years.
the Prime Directive doesn't seem to really make a whole ton of sense because
Yeah.
they're like, oh, we can't interfere in these human wars, but aren't we giving them technology
Yeah.
that they're going
Yeah.
to use eventually to start wars with each other?
Right.
And like I guess like I don't understand why a celestial needs intelligent life to gain life power. Like
Right.
I don't get that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's something to it, but like I could have used more explanation there.
Yeah.
Even if
Um,
all it was just one extra sentence, like celestials, in order to mature, need the brain waves of
Right.
intelligent life or something.
Yeah. So I
Like
think
it
it's kind of yeah.
doesn't need to be a good explanation. It just
Right.
needs an explanation.
So I think it's a little implied in when they say that it needs all of that life, but it doesn't say really they're doing with it. And I think maybe we
I
can.
I would even accept if it was like, oh, celestials when they're in their prepubescent form or prenatal form,
Right.
that's what causes intelligent life. Like
Hmm.
on all of the other planets where you have a bunch of like
Mm,
dumb animals, everyone that has a intelligent civilization that has a celestial in it,
right.
and eventually they blow up, and that's just the order of
Yeah.
things. Is
It's
that
just part of its life cycle.
right? Then I'd be like, oh, okay, so we're just if we had moved to Mars, we would have been okay,
Right.
but we didn't get there. And if that was like the Eternals thing, if they're like, yeah, your job is to get the intelligent species to the point where they can move off the planet before the Celestial wakes up. And if they don't,
Yeah,
that
that could be
species didn't
yeah,
make it. Then
kind of be
that would
their
at
end
least
game,
make sense. Yeah.
right? Because I mean, they kind of talk about, hey, we're just gonna find another planet for these people, and they talk about making an ark with 2 of every animal or whatever, and like, yeah, that could be their end game of like, yeah, that's part of their mission at the end when it's being born. Like, okay, now you have to take samples of all this life to somewhere else
Mhm.
instead of
Or
and then
or
you don't have
if
to worry
you
about you killing my baby celestial.
mhm. Or you could even say like, oh, the death is necessary. Like
Yeah,
it's the death of millions, billions of intelligence life forms that is what awakens the celestial or what gives it all of its power.
right.
Yeah.
And even that is like it's still more of an explanation of what we got.
I feel like that's kind of what they say, though, isn't it? Something like that, or I don't
They
remember
really
specifically.
treat it like it's
Yeah.
incidental, though. Like that.
Oh, okay. I thought it was necessary to have that life for it to be
Or was that it?
They say that the life is necessary,
right.
but they don't say anything
What it's
beyond
using for,
that.
right?
Yeah. Like, and they don't say why. Like,
And
it would be one thing if it was like, oh, the ambient power that a civilization makes, like, but that's like it just doesn't make sense. And that's
right.
the thing that, like, the random shit in there that doesn't make sense is just so key and basic that's what makes this movie lose weight, and it
Right.
doesn't have the character strength to be like, oh, this movie doesn't make sense, but at least I like the characters.
I feel like this movie, if it could have done a lot better things with it, if it didn't have to also be part of the MCU too, right? So they're also having to figure out, how does Ant-Man work in this world too, or why do these people exist in
Right.
the world while these other things are happening? And now we also kind of have to play by some of these other rules and things where, like, if it were just a standalone movie, like a weird sci-fi story about these people, I think you could have had more flexibility to get the lore and everything and the rules better. But it's like they weren't able to pull it off at all.
And like, I think that's the thing that, like, irritates me the most about this movie in particular is that, like, I've made no secret that the Eternals and the New Gods are my least favorite thing about the Golden Age and Silver Age of comics, and that I really feel like, because they didn't have the same editorial that the other comics had, it was a creative person having free reign, and it did not match up with the rest of their respective universe. And every attempt to make it match up has left plot holes. That's just my feeling on it. I'm fine if other people disagree, but I feel like the thing that makes me the most mad about this movie in particular is you had the opportunity to rewrite that so that it did make sense, and they chose not to. Like, they didn't make this mesh more with the MCU that they'd created, and that's the kind of unforgivable thing to me, is that they had the opportunity to go back and fix some of the continuity issues that they didn't have when they were just trying to appease Kirby. And, like, the original storyline in the comics, I also don't feel like made sense, but this isn't that. So it's not like they pulled directly from the comics. They just created a new thing that kind of mirrored the comics, but they mirrored the parts that don't make sense to me. Right. And that's the part where I'm just like, well, but why?
Yeah.
I personally think that the Fourth World fits into the DCU better than the Eternals fits into Marvel.
I will give you that. The Fourth World makes more sense in DC than it does in Marvel.
Right.
Than the Eternals do in Marvel. Because in DC, when they're like talking about gods and stuff, it's a lot easier to be like, oh, these are more like Asgardian gods, not
Mm.
And,
like actual
they're
cosmic deities. But
they're not. The fourth world gods are not meant to be anything like our gods. They're just so powerful that they are gods. Whereas
Right.
the Eternals, we have to reckon with the idea. Okay, so these guys are gods, right? But they're
Mhm.
not the gods
Right.
Right.
because we clearly see in in the comics at least that there are actually the Greek gods in the Greek pantheon. So
Mm.
who are these people? And that's a question that we're going to have to reckon with once Love and Thunder comes out because we are going to meet
Really?
actual
Yeah.
Zeus.
Oh, really? That's right.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like the Eternals live in a
Right.
city called Olympia,
Right.
and Olympia is built next door to the portal to Olympus. Like
No.
it's just like it makes sense
Yeah.
why they would get
Right.
confused, but it also doesn't make sense like why the Celestials and the Greek gods
Right.
are
Yeah,
in the
and
same universe, and that's
yeah.
like
No, I can see that as like a cartoon from the '60s or something, and being like, okay, this is how it works, just in the same way that all other superhero like Thor has to have a secret identity where he's a nerd or whatever, like all of those kind of old timey things. But it's weird to have it in the MCU where everything else
right.
is so kind of trying to be grounded in the real world and all these other things. And it's very strange. It's a weird movie in that way, and I think if it could have been its own standalone thing, it could have been better. It would have given her more freedom to kind of make something that made more sense.
Well, like I think too, like with when they brought in like Moon Knight as a TV show, like there's giant chunks of Moon Knight that don't make sense yet with
Hmm.
the MCU of just like, well, how do the Egyptian gods factor in with what we know is the Greek gods coming in and the Norse gods, and like, do they ever like chit chat? Like, what's the relative power level? Blah blah blah. But like, they didn't come in and directly contradict and or not make any sense with what we've already known. It's like we don't get like with the Norse gods, like there's stuff that I'm like, what this doesn't necessarily make sense, but
Right.
like you could explain it later on and I'd be like, oh, okay. With this one, it's like you explained what it was, and what it was still just doesn't make sense. And that's like the difference
Right.
to me.
I think in this movie, I just thought of something that did bug me about it when I was watching it, and I forgot about it until just now. Like what this movie does, and it's kind of like indicative of me of like what kind of the direction that we're going in with all the newer Marvel stuff, is like, or it has that DC-ness of it, where it doesn't hold on to the stuff that made the MCU as successful as it was in the first half, right, or the last 10 years, where think about all of the guys up in the first Avengers, aside from Thor, everybody else was just like a normal guy who had something happen. Either Captain America got his super soldier serum, or Iron Man had to build his suit and all the and Hulk and all that stuff. But, like they were all people in the real world, and then had to deal with becoming superheroes. Right now, that's kind of like Marvel's thing, right? The difference between Marvel and DC. People have been saying for a long time. It's like regular people trying to be live with being superheroes or whatever,
Mhm.
and then it's the other way around in DC, where it's like all these super people trying to live in the real world or whatever. But now we've crossed that line over, and now it's all super people all the time, that kind of thing. Which is
I mean, and
yeah,
like I guess like that's the other thing is like yeah, they're all not even people. They're just
right.
murder bots.
Yeah,
But like I don't I can understand why you're making this movie to open up the MCU to the Celestials, and I can understand why you would start production on this before you knew you were getting like the X-Men and stuff, because the Celestials and the Celestial War
Mm.
That actually makes more sense, other than like everything the Celestials do, other than the Eternals and the Deviants, makes more sense with the rest of the MCU.
Right.
That the Celestials are the winners of a cosmic war um, from before our normal space time, and that they're doing things and none of us are capable of understanding what it is they're up to, because they're operating on 6-dimensional space.
Right.
So I like that aspect of the comics, where it's like we will never understand why the Watchers watch, like what they're watching for.
Right.
We'll never
The Reckoning
understand.
War.
No.
Mm.
They're actually explaining that in a crossover that like just happened,
Oh, okay.
or is currently happening 3 months ago on Marvel Unlimited.
Okay. I'm catching up to that. Like, I'm trying to bring all of my major MCU or major Marvel comics, like Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man, and then my second tier of Miss Marvel, Miles Morales, and those kids.
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I'm trying to get them all up to current so that I can just start reading everything Marvel Unlimited 6 months behind. But I keep finding giant holes in my like knowledge of what happened. So, but yeah, like I enjoy that aspect of the comics, that they hit a point where there's like just no mortal mind can comprehend what they're talking about. So they're just summarizing like, yeah, we have to fight these guys, and I'm cool with that. But like
Right.
this one, it didn't explain it, but it also didn't hit the staring into the abyss or staring into infinity, like mind breakingness of it.
Mm.
And that's the thing, is like it didn't go all the way, but it also didn't fully ground it. So it's just a Cthulhu that doesn't drive you mad, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
I've never cared for the Celestials in Marvel Comics
Mm.
because, or honestly, they're once you get to a certain power tier in Marvel, you don't get stories that make sense anymore.
Right.
And like the Celestials, a lot of the upper level cosmic beings, like Shaper of Worlds and that kind of level of character, like there's like one or two people that have ideas every like 5 to 10 years where they're like, I'm going to tell this great epic. And then the next guy comes along, except he didn't pay attention to the last great epic that was told with this.
Right.
And it just turns into a huge mess. And, you come along with the 70 years of Marvel history and you try and read about these characters because they're like, oh, these are like the most powerful characters in the universe. I'm interested in that because I'm a boy. And you're just like, what the fuck is happening? And that's the way that I feel every time either a Celestial shows up or whether someone says we need to fight the Celestials.
Mm.
And like I the very first Marvel comic I ever read growing up, I think actually the first comic book I read growing up is Fantastic Four. I believe it's number 319, which is Secret Wars 3. Not the third issue of Secret Wars.
Right.
It's the third Secret Wars.
Yeah.
The first Secret Wars everyone remembers because that's the one with Beyonder and Battle World. The second Secret Wars is the one that no one remembers, where Spider-Man teaches the Beyonder to use the bathroom. The third Secret Wars, there's like 4 people that know about it, and it doesn't make any
Oh.
goddamn sense. I've been reading every Marvel comic I could get my hands on for the last 30 years, and I still haven't figured it
Right.
out.
But it's the most successful at being a secret war. If only folks don't know
Because the meaning's a secret.
When I think too, like, and this is a danger for the MCU, I think, because it's a danger for the regular comics, DC or Marvel. I feel like DC handles it a little bit better because they've basically just gone off the charts on everybody's relative power level at any given point in time. But like Marvel's usually pretty good, or is better at grounding everyone's power level. But then they slowly ramp up until it's like, oh, everybody's too powerful. We have to figure out some way to depower everyone.
Right.
But like the Celestials are like one of those big arm races where once you bring them into it, once you bring the Eternals into it,
Right.
everybody has to go like shoot up super soldier serum and put on Iron Man armor so that they can wield their own new Mjolnir and go out and fight. Like it's just like,
Yeah.
once you've
Fight
done that,
God.
you don't. Once
Yeah.
once you fought a Celestial, you can't stop them.
Yeah. And the Celestials are providing the internet to Roy's house, so they don't like what he
He
has to
fought
say
the
about
Celestials, and the Celestials won.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the other weird thing about the movie at the end when that Celestial comes and he sucks the Eternals out into space, and it's like you disobeyed me and you chose these people over your duty, so I'm just going to judge them by your memories. I'll come back and judge them by your memories to see whether or not humans deserve to live or what. Like, that's a real weird decision to make from a Celestial when he could have just been like, oh, I'm gonna have to kill all you guys because you fucked up the plan or whatever.
Not only that, but it's like, I'm going to judge them based on your memories.
Yeah,
When
later.
I return. It's like, they have
The
memories
crossover.
now.
Yeah, it's very
And also, like, if you're a Celestial, like, does one planet really matter?
yeah.
Like why are they walking around space just being like, oh, this thing's alive, but like it's not really doing anything, so like I'm gonna wipe it out and then move on? Like what are
Yeah, it doesn't, because he just lost billions of years on that baby Celestial that they turn into marble, right? So he's gotta go make another one. So it's either punish them by just smashing that world with his fist right then, or move on. It's weird he's gonna come back.
Like, it makes sense why Ajax decided, like, oh, Earth is actually more important than getting another Celestial, because this was the world where, uh, there was such a great setback where, like, the Celestials themselves ended up handicapped when Thanos eliminated half of life in the universe,
Right.
because it meant all of the Celestial seeded worlds lost half of their intelligent life.
Yeah.
But this was the world that brought them all back. So it's like,
that's right. Yeah.
there's something cool going on here, and it's like, that makes sense, but that's never stated or brought to the attention of the Celestial,
Right.
to the best of the knowledge of what we've been told in the movie. It's just, yeah, I'll be back. Better remember good things.
Yeah. So, because he should be really interested. Because I don't know how many other times in the history of the universe has their team of Eternals been like, you know what, we're not gonna follow our orders, and we're gonna kill the little baby Celestial coming out of the planet. There's got to be a reason that he would want to be curious about, and he should just be asking that, at the end of the movie. But then, add a whole other movie at the end of our movie.
And that's the thing where it's like I can accept the Celestials in the comics as like unfathomable movers of like the cosmos, where it's like, oh yeah, sometimes Celestials do things and we just have to deal with it. Kind of like sometimes there's sunspots. We don't know
Right.
why, and they fuck up our communication.
Right.
Celestials are up to something, and we can't possibly understand what it is. But like, if just state that it's like, oh yeah, sometimes Celestials are on our side and sometimes they're not. Sometimes you can fight them hard enough that they'll be like, oh, you don't want that? I can do it another way. It's fine. Like, like when your dog really wants something and you're like, oh, it's not, fuck it. I would rather not listen to you bark, so I'm going to give you a treat. And then
Right.
you go on with your day, right?
Yeah.
I'd be fine if Celestials were like that, where,
Right.
but then like, why do they go through all of the weird steps and then leave for a million years? Like, it doesn't make sense.
It's a plot convenience is what it always feels like.
Yeah.
And like you said, they don't even say that their motives are inscrutable.
Right.
Right.
Their motives are inscrutable, but no one points it out. So it feels like the movie expects us to be able to scrutinize the Celestials' motives.
Right.
And like, yeah, it's just there's, and it's just one of those things where it's like, since, like, if you take into account like stuff that like Doctor Strange has dealt with, where it's like, oh, there's like some sort of cosmic power source that life is, and that's why like demons want to invade, and why, like, I don't know, Thanos does certain stuff. Like, then, like, if you just said that, then it would be like, okay, now that's what you're operating under, that some of these cosmic level beings are eating life the way we eat a cheeseburger, and it's not about like chewing it up and digesting it. It's like some sort of like cosmic battery.
Right.
But yeah, I don't. I can't say it any other way than like, this is a weak part of the comic book that gets dropped off all the
Right.
time, because it doesn't make much sense. And then they picked up all of the parts that don't make sense and then changed parts that don't matter. Like, who's gay, who's actually a bad guy, who's actually a boy or girl. Like, none of that really matters with the robots. Who and why the Celestials are doing what they're doing, that doesn't make sense, and you could have made it make sense, but you chose not to, and that's the
Right.
so.
Yeah. And just do a little bit of work for the movie. I think they talk about how when they made them as the robots and stuff, like they're infused with a little bit of celestial energy that keeps flowing through them and stuff. So maybe that's why, they have emotions and feelings and are able to evolve, at least, mentally and things, and have personalities instead of just being straight up actual robots about everything. So I think maybe you just do work for the movie and say that could be why we actually have a team of people as opposed to just robots. Because then that wouldn't be an interesting story to watch anyways. But then,
And like, I could see too if they were making it where like the Celestials were actually interested in what's going on these planets, like,
right.
But that's the thing, is like, there's no reporting mechanism for the Eternals. They're just like, oh, you guys are going to come back, and then we find out what the next step is. But why are we here protecting? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's like in the comics, it's like an experiment, and the Eternals are there to like safeguard the experiment.
Right. Yeah,
and it makes more sense in the comic books that it's like, oh, a scientist that's dealing with things that we can't possibly understand in our three-dimensional space. They're making decisions based off of what they're trying to do, not what we perceive they're trying to do. So that it doesn't make it any less confusing, but it does make it make a little bit more sense why nobody knows what they're up to.
Right.
But like, it wasn't even a science experiment here, so like, I don't. There's just so much I don't get. And why make him Greek? Like, I don't.
Only some of them are Greek, right? Some are Irish and some are. Oh, that's the other thing I want to bring up. Thena, I didn't realize until the very last scene and the last two lines she says. She has an accent the whole movie. Is she? I didn't catch that at all. Well, then she doesn't really say much. But yeah, I didn't know she was doing an accent.
I have a hard time paying attention to Angelina Jolie. Like, I just need to be perfectly honest. I've never really cared
Wow.
for her
Right.
as an actress.
Mm.
As a person, what I can tell, she seems like the exact kind of person that I don't think I could get along with.
Mm.
Like, it seems like we would agree on a lot of like major concepts, but none of the steps for how to get to that agreement. So, and then just as an actress, I don't much care for her. So
Oh, okay. So I was
she
thinking watching
might
this
have had an accident, and I don't know. It's-
so you're hard paying attention.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum where it's hard to pay attention to because I think she's one of those people like that Michael B. Jordan thing of like just being so perfect looking where it's like everybody just stop what you're doing and just look at this person and how they're shaped. She's like a Greek statue or something.
I remember the second Tomb Raider movie
Mm.
where one of the first scenes is like she's like diving into an underground ruin to
Right.
go and get stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that and then like just seeing her and I was just like, this is ridiculous. How does a person look like this? And the thing is, I had seen Angelina Jolie in other movies.
Right.
But for some reason, it was just like some combination of the way it was shot and the outfit she was wearing and
Mm.
stuff. Like I was just like, this is unbelievable, unfucking believable.
Yeah. And that was 20 years ago.
Mhm.
She still got it. That's what I think.
Yeah, and eventually I realized that was literally the only reason to watch the movie, and I fell asleep.
I need to revisit the Tomb Raider movies. Maybe that's what we'll do next. Is all Tomb Raider movies because there's also the newer ones.
That-
One?
I haven't
That-
seen the newer ones yet. And
Yeah.
How many of them are there? I thought
I think there was
that
just
there was
one.
only one newer one,
Yeah.
and there's two older ones, so it's just three.
I think it's the three. Oh, I think I'm including the
Ooh.
game when they rebooted the game.
yeah,
Yeah.
You know what would be interesting?
So
If instead of watching just one franchise, we start watching multiple franchises, but we rank trilogies or we
Ooh.
rank duologies. Is that what two-part movies are
so.
called?
Yeah.
Or we're just ranking franchises.
Rank franchises. Yeah.
I'm down for that.
Yeah.
Also, I'd be interested in a movie mashup between things like Uncharted, Tomb Raider, and like
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
Right.
I understand that they've only got the one movie for Uncharted, but
Well, another thing.
franchises that are in the same genre.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. Where they're all kind of ripping off the same one movie.
Or like a genre battle.
Yeah. That would be cool. Ooh, yeah. That's a good option. Something else I thought about is doing a run of is going back through the Marvel movies, but just doing different movies by whoever the main actor is in each movie. So
Oh, okay.
starting with some random other Robert Downey Jr. movie and then a Edward Norton movie and so on.
Mm.
I think that would be kind of fun. But that's
May I put up for your consideration when you're
Right.
doing that push for the Chris Evans movie, because more people need to see that.
yeah. So
For the Ed Norton movie, I would like to suggest Death to Smoochie.
oh yeah, that's probably the one. It'll be that or American History X, which
I feel like that
we don't have to do
more people have watched American History X.
Yeah.
Also, the current climate of the country,
we
feel
get a
like-
lot more people watching it.
maybe not for great reasons.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to see what they're putting in the chat. but we'd get more viewers. But yeah, that's what I was thinking about it is because Brie Larson did a movie that I want to cover at some point, which is like a romantic comedy or something where she goes to India and teaches Indian people how to be better at being Indian, basically, or being better at farming rice and things. So I want to cover that
I wonder-
eventually. Anyways,
I'm wondering how many movies we could slot in Scott Pilgrim for.
yeah, because there's we got Chris Evans and we got the something else,
Captain Marvel,
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
because Brie Larson's in there. Not this universe, but
yeah,
in DC, Huntress
yeah,
is in Scott Pilgrim.
yeah.
Superman Returns, Superman.
Mhm.
Right.
If we're talking TV shows, Shadow King from Legion.
Also, isn't the Adam in?
Is the same guy as the Superman Returns guy.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that movie is just full of characters that you've seen in other stuff.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll do the Scott Pilgrim alternate universe movie run eventually.
Mhm.
Okay. And one other thing I want to talk about tonight about this movie is the end credits, post credit, mid credit, whichever one it was, where they're on the ship and then Star Fox shows up.
Yeah.
But
Which is
before
not- that's
Star
not the
Fox, we
I
get
know.
Pip the Troll.
Yes.
And
The
it is
drunken troll.
probably
awesome.
the worst CGI that Marvel has put out.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Like, I don't know whether it's supposed to look like Patton Oswalt. I don't know if it's supposed to look human.
Yeah, it's so weird, and give him so much time, and it looks so bad.
And I'm gonna go ahead and say once again on the making decisions that I just don't understand why you made the decision when you made it, which is bringing the Eternals in and not changing the backstory in a way that makes it make more sense with the rest of the MCU as it's established. But in the Me Too era, when you've obviously thought about the ramifications of how white your cast is and you've changed that in a positive way, why would you at the mid-credit scene bring in the only superhero that's been tried for rape?
No. That's yeah.
That-
Yeah,
That's-
it'll be
Think about
great
that
to see Harry Styles in an episode of She-Hulk.
Yeah. Like, and like, I just want to go ahead and say
Yeah.
that, like, I haven't read it, but like, I do respect that the MCU was like, yeah, we gave this guy pheromones powers, but that does come off date rapey now that we think about it. Let's go ahead and put him on trial. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Like, I enjoyed that was a thing.
Right.
And I understand how they, from what I understand, they wrote it in a way that exonerated him. And like explained how his powers work in a way that makes it so it's less rapey.
Right.
But like at this particular time and this particular movie, I don't think that was where we needed to go.
It's a weird thing to enter into the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
That's an odd choice.
Like you could have brought him in when Thanos was fucking everything up, and
Yeah.
then like, oh yeah, he's got a brother.
That-
Is
thought
he
that's-
actually
Thanos was
Thanos' brother, or is that all like just stuff that Pip says when he's
well,
introduced
in
him?
comics, he is.
Oh,
Yeah.
But that's one of the other things that make you ask why with this movie. Like, why in God's name would you introduce a character with the powers that Star Fox has? And also, why in God's name would you connect Thanos to the Eternals mythology?
Especially when you've already established that the deviants aren't the same thing, because like Thanos is an eternal deviant. Like
Oh,
that's
I
what
didn't
he
know
is in
that.
the comics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
thought he was from a
and-
planet of purple people.
No,
no,
no, he's from a planet of good-looking movie star people.
That
Yeah,
explains why his brother's a good-looking movie star.
So like I enjoyed, I don't know. Like I enjoyed how they changed his plot, but then like when you bring Star Fox in now and are like, oh yeah, he's still Thanos' brother, and tied
And
to,
he's an Eternal.
and he's eternal. Um, so what is Thanos again? Like
Yeah,
if he's not a deviant, like
right. It's that stuff that you were talking about, Chad, with like when they get into space and they're doing all these things. Like a lot of people, it's not uncommon, I think, for like a lot of comic book fans, but like, yeah, I'm not into that. Like, I just want to see Spider-Man swinging around, punching bank robbers and stuff. So like, there's a lot of like the cosmic stuff that nobody cares about, and like we're keep inserting more and more of it into the MCU, and I think
Mhm.
that's why a lot of people are probably checking out. I feel like I made a pretty good choice when I said I'm checking out after Endgame, because like I haven't really been impressed with the MCU movies since then. Except I kind of like Black Widow, but like Shang-Chi I wasn't a big fan of. And this is pointing in a direction of movies I don't really want to see.
The cosmic stuff with Marvel, it's like there are a lot of really cool cosmic stories that Marvel
Mm.
has done over the years, and there's a whole lot of other ones.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I feel like the cosmic side of of Marvel is like Doctor Strange, where it's great when the cosmic level stuff hits Earth, and suddenly
Mm.
Earth has to deal with like, oh, we're not alone, and we have to deal with that aspect of it. But that's like better when it's like, oh, the Skrulls are invading, so they can steal natural resources and win a war. It's
Mm.
cool that Earth got brought into an interstellar war that
Right.
they're not really a part of.
Mhm.
Those are cool stories, but when it's like Galactus, where it's like, why does he keep coming back? Like, I
Yeah.
don't.
It's strange, and it's so weird when you have to have the. This is the one Earth where all these things are happening, where all the different things keep coming and attacking this one Earth. And then people go back to their lives instead of like making everyone's life now is about whatever we're protecting ourselves from whatever crazy aliens are going to come and try to eat us next week.
Yeah.
It doesn't work when you start cramming everything together. So that's why, when we keep expanding the MCU, we're just going to get more and more of it.
There's a meme that I've seen
Hmm.
a lot over the last couple of years that was it's like how after what happened in Infinity War and Endgame are people in the Marvel universe supposed to just go back to trying to live normal lives? Who would even want to try and go back and live normal lives
Yeah.
after that craziness and the tragedy and all that stuff? And then you look around at everyone in the real world trying to pretend that everything's totally normal
Right.
Yeah,
right now.
that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
and it makes sense, but at the same time, like, it doesn't make sense to me how people are doing that. So I still have that question.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. The question's still there, but we also can see that. Yeah. I guess it'll
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. It's like we still don't understand
Right.
why we can't use the phrase "I would avoid it like the plague," but we understand that it doesn't have the same meaning it used to.
Yeah.
um, but like as far as like the checking out of the MCU goes, I feel like there is. I feel like there's a lot of places that they can go that that are more back to what we all like about the MCU.
Mm.
And I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy is the way they should be going with their cosmic level stuff, whereas like the Guardians of the Galaxy just stay in space and that's all they're dealing with,
Right.
and it's fun,
Yeah.
but not trying to bring all of that shit back to Earth.
Right.
Because like in the comics, they do a good job of that. Of Earth has its own, like they have a set of intergalactic heroes and they have a set of local heroes, and they generally don't mix
Right.
because um, there's no point.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Because otherwise, then that's what every comic is about. Is then
Yeah.
Yeah, Spider-Man doesn't have time to be punching bank robbers because he's got to deal with giant god monster aliens come with their portals or whatever.
No,
And like,
even with the regular Marvel universe, they still have that sort of separation.
Right. Yeah. That's what we were
oh,
saying.
that's what I was just saying is that
Yeah.
they have like intergalactic superheroes and world class heroes and like street level heroes.
Right.
And it's weird when you see Iron Man stopping a bank robbery.
Right.
Like people will actively comment like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" And he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I was standing over there."
Yeah.
So
It's weird. Yeah, see him literally on the street level is weird. Just to
Mhm.
see him walking around and not flying around.
Like,
Have you read Annihilation?
not yet.
Okay. Annihilation is one of those cosmic level events where it's like the negative zone basically is against the rest of the universe. And uh,
The
eventually the whole.
negative zone, David, is where all the people from Superman went to prison.
Yeah, so I was
Mhm.
thinking.
Yeah, basically. And there's a giant bug man instead of General Zod.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so negative zone is trying to destroy the rest of the universe. And uh, like all of these different planetary alliances are getting decimated and they all have to group together to try and fight, and in the end it takes like someone using Galactus as a battery and Thanos actually doing a good thing for once in order to win. And Nova, who has started out as a street level hero but proceeded to level up several times, he actually rips Annihilus's guts out from the outside.
Nice.
And then he goes back to Earth, and then he finds out that Civil War happened, and Iron Man is still treating him like a little kid. And he's just like, I don't think you understand what happened when you guys were bickering with each other over secret identities. The Earth was nearly wiped out,
Right.
and you didn't even notice because of your stupid play fighting.
And like just for the defense of Marvel and its continuity, like I feel like maybe this is old school and not new school, but like the reason why the negative zone keeps invading our galaxy, universe, plane of existence is because they're in a universe that's like dangerously close to heat death. So like when they're invading, it's literally they're trying to save themselves from being wiped out. So it's like there's times where like their cosmic level stuff really does make sense, and it is like, oh, this is really interesting. Like if an entire universe is about to collapse, but it can get into an alternate dimension, who's right and who's wrong? Because like you can't have like. So there's a lot of cool places it can go. I don't understand why it started with the Celestials, because like Annihilus would be dope. That would have been a dope way of bringing in the Celestials and the Eternals, of just like, oh yeah, Annihilus showed up because heat death. So now the Celestials are like, well, we can't have another universe coming in here, so now we're getting involved. Like that would have been cool, but
yeah.
And then with the Eternals, it's like, if you guys had waited till after Guardians 3, and then we get introduced to like Adam Warlock and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That would have been more interesting to see. So you guys,
I would like, David, for and I understand you're cutting into what you watch for only content, but I would like to have your opinion on the MCU TV shows now, because I feel like a lot of them are better than the rest of Phase 4. Is it now? Are we in Phase 4?
Yeah, Phase 4.
Yeah. Like they're actually making a lot more like smart decisions. Even if you don't like all of it, like they're making smarter decisions than the movies are. And I know that they're meant to be in tandem, but I would love to actually hear what your opinions are on
Yeah.
those.
I feel like because they did it, they're doing this with Star Wars, where they figured out like people weren't really having great feelings about the new Star Wars movies, especially like the last one, and so.
Mhm.
But then they realized that when they make the TV shows, everyone loves those, even when they're not great. They're still getting a lot more positive feedback from the shows, and I think that's something they're doing now with the Space Force stuff. It's like the movies aren't getting the as much love or as much creative success, I guess. But they're able to do more with the shows. And people are generally saying the shows are pretty good. So yeah, I would like to see them eventually
Yeah,
dig
and
into it.
I think too, like with like movies, it's fucking hard to do something like the Eternals or even Spider-Man in a
Right.
2-hour movie. Like Marvel has been steadily pushing up our attention span as they've been
Yeah.
going along. But like all of the MCU TV shows are 13-hour movies.
Right.
So you can do a lot more with the pacing and stuff.
Yeah, I would like to see those. Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, we'll see on Saturday, but like that first Spider-Man movie, the Sam Raimi one, like the amount of stuff that they cover in the actual like 2 hour and 1 minute movie. Wow. So yeah, that would be a whole series, I think. Like where he starts and where he ends in that.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of progress. I just realized like in the last minute or so that in between on the screen in between me and Chad's things, you can see Angelina Jolie's face, just like her eye and her lip staring out at us. Yeah, what do you guys think?
The I was just about to say, uh, 13-hour movies is a little bit overselling, especially the Phase 4 TV series.
Okay.
Most of them are 6 episodes.
Okay.
Okay.
I like that better. Yeah, 'cause I was thinking how the Boba Fett show could have been a 2 hour movie, even though it was 6 or 8, whatever it was. Anyways, what do you guys think Stan Lee would have made his cameo in this movie? I would like to submit that he would have been the 11th Eternal, who would have left the team earlier, like after just he only had one line in the scene of him just leaving, just because it would have been funny just to have the team of perfectly designed murder bots, and then one of them is a frail old man.
He's just like, I'm gonna go write my stories. Fuck you guys.
This is wrong what we're doing.
Just walks out with 2 stone tablets and prehistory and
Before they even kill the first the deviant.
Hmm.
I'm thinking that he would have been at the museum with Dane and what's her face or something like.
Right.
Oh no, that's who he would have been. He would have been Dane Whitman's ancestor that's giving him the sword. That would have been
cool.
first time being a bad guy.
That would be good. I was thinking that he would probably just end up being like the driver of the car that's going to take Sprite to school.
Oh yeah, that's also another weird thing. That they turn her into a real boy or girl or whatever, whatever they want to be with their life. They have that choice to go and live a life. But the first thing that Sprite has to do is go to school and learn how to respect adults and do what they're told. That would suck. I'd be like, give me 5 years to grow up until like an adult and go live a life that way. I don't want to go through high school. Ugh.
And also, like, I feel like, especially for Sprite, it's going to be like, finally, I'm real. Oh, fuck. I'm also really old, and everybody, like, this is just creepy. This is creepy.
True.
Now I'm growing up and realizing how fucking creepy it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to see that whole miniseries. Sprite just trying to learn how to be a person. Go through high school. Like
Just have her transfer into Miles Morales' high school later.
Yeah, fun. All right, where did you have this ranked previously, and where is it now?
Well, it's in the exact same spot. It's it's like fighting it out with Thor, the first one.
Wow.
I still think the Dark World is worse
Right.
than either of the two because the Dark World didn't have new characters that I liked,
Hmm.
and like as much as I hate the premise of this movie, like all of the pre-production stuff, I feel like once the movie was being told, they did as good a job as their script would allow
Mm.
with this. Um, where I
There's a
don't
few
think,
unanswered questions, but that's really the worst part of it. Once
yeah,
you put aside all of the, this didn't need to happen this way.
Right.
and it's another one of those movies where it's like I'm more mad about what it's not and more mad about what it could have been than what I actually saw.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it just seems less good. Um,
Right.
so
But
yeah,
your opinion didn't really change watching it again.
no, because I
Yeah.
watched it. It came into this list
Right.
already. So
I did not
And yeah.
originally have this on
Mm.
my list, but
Right.
if I did have it, it would have been in the middle.
Mm.
After rewatching it, I am definitely ranking it lower. Uh, like I'm gonna put this underneath Marvel's Avengers, above Black Widow. Uh, my issue with Black Widow was it was a movie where I didn't care about almost half of the movie because until it got to Yelena, I didn't care
Mm.
what was happening. And in this movie, again, I was interested in almost all of the characters. I want to know more about all of them. I want to see more about them again, just not Icarus. But luckily, he flew into the sun,
It's true. He did fly into the sun.
which is a weird choice. Like, I
That's
understand
out
the
of shame.
poetry of
Right.
a guy named Icarus flying into the sun, but
Right.
it's just like you could have just had him fly off into space
Yeah.
somewhere else and
Right.
had the option to use him again later.
Yeah. And the real dramatic, ironic ending would have been him to fly as close to the sun as possible, and then the sun, of course, melted off his powers, and then he fell back to Earth and
Hmm.
didn't die.
which I think is what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. I guess we don't really see him die.
And, and I feel like I don't know.
No.
I feel like this movie feels to me like a couple of the other ones where it felt like Marvel misstepped and made a bad movie. And then like 3 movies later, I'm like, oh, I see why they made the decision they made back in that bad movie. Now it suddenly makes sense.
Mm.
So I don't want to write it off completely. Like it might be that in the next couple of movies, um, it all starts coalescing,
Right.
which I don't want to say makes this a good movie,
Mm.
but it might be that like I have less qualms with the writing and the directing, where it's
Right.
like, oh, it's you have to look at it as a whole, not as a
Mm.
individual piece.
Right.
Hmm. Oh, also,
Yeah.
I want to just say
Yeah.
for the record, this is a
Mm.
beautiful movie.
Oh yeah, it's very well shot. Yeah, I listened to I had the director's commentary on today after I got home from work and I was doing stuff, so I didn't catch all of it, but listened to a good chunk of it. And Chloe Zhao was talking constantly about Magic Hour, which is like the best time to shoot stuff like that 20 minutes right before the sun sets. And like if you look, most of the movie is shot in Magic Hour, so she really put a lot of effort into making it look really good, especially also going all the way around the world and seeing all the different cultures and things. That all looked great. She's a competent, good filmmaker, but very artsy fartsy kind of person.
Yeah.
Like this movie gives
And
me a lot of Ang Lee Hulk kind of vibes of like they put a director in here who's got a very strong, weird style that doesn't quite fit in a comic book movie, and so they made something that is weird and different from what and you're expecting, and so it's not gonna fit in the MCU well, but it makes me want to rewatch it and figure out what its deal is and what's going on.
I kind
So
of I kind of
yeah,
wonder if some of the choices that she made in this movie are motivated by the fact that, in addition to being a director that has a strong sort of style and vision
right.
kind of thing, she's actually a fan of the comics.
Mm,
And like I feel like maybe that's also part of it too. Is like I feel like every time you take like a good director that like really knows what they're doing, and put them in charge of a comic book movie, you always get that director's version of a comic book movie.
right.
Hmm.
And I feel like what the strongest parts of the MCU have been when they've had, I don't want to say bad directors, but directors that couldn't push back too much.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And like, I understand other people might not like it as much, or that it's used as an insult, but like that MCU style where everything has that cohesiveness, that is one of the things that I like about it.
Mm.
Is that I'm not constantly being like, oh, in this one, does he have organic webbing or is it web shooters, or like what level is the technology at? Like, I'm not constantly doing that where I'm like, okay, things from one movie translate into the next movie. I feel rewarded for watching all of them more than once.
Hmm.
And this movie, it's like it's that part where it's like the director's not going to quite match, and the Eternals never quite match, but you have two things that don't quite match just bundled together, and you're saying it's part of the MCU, and that's where it feels really off to me. Like,
Right, yeah. It's weird, and if you try to, if you're ranking it as an MCU movie, you can't rank it very high, right? But like I have it, I've got it at 19 right now, in between Civil War and Shang Chi. And that's just because like that element of wanting to rewatch it and like figure out what this movie's deal is, because it's weird and doesn't fit, is a part of it. And I feel like after a rewatch, because it's my first time watching, after a rewatch, I can probably see it going down because like I said, I didn't really enjoy it that much. But I just want to,
yeah.
I have this curiosity. What's this movie's, what's going on here? And because I didn't really start thinking about it too hard until more than halfway through, and when the
Yeah,
use of the first human use of nuclear weapons against other people was a plot point.
that sounds like about where I was the first time I watched
Yeah,
the movie. I'm like, oh, I should watch this again. I'm kind of interested in
yeah,
all of the people, and maybe I'll get more out of it. And it turns out, no, I got less.
yeah, and I can see that happening. So,
Well, I think too, like another thing that I think bothers me about the Eternals in general, and then also this movie's version of the Eternals, um, is like I said, I'm a big mythology fan. I actually know the mythology that these guys are pulled from, and it seems to me like it makes sense that how the Eternals was created with a 1960s version of mythology, where it's like you don't have the internet, you only have a couple of library books. They're all basically saying the same elementary school version of what these myths were, and then people moved on. Um, but like nowadays, you can go on Wikipedia and get more detailed information about all of these characters and all of these mythologies, and there's so much more interesting stuff to play with if you're touching on those mythologies. And that's part of what bothers me is like Mercury has so many more different things that they can do, um, with the character and the myths that come from it, that to have that just distilled into, oh, it's a fast dude, Except it's not a dude; it's a deaf chick. It's a fast
Right.
deaf chick.
Right.
It's just like it'd be like if you took all of what Batman was and were just like, what if there was just a smart Sherlock Holmes guy that knew how to fight, but he had money, and like you took away like all of the superhero aspects of it just to make that, where it's like that's part of what hurts when I'm watching this is just like, oh, Athena was so much more than fighting chick. Like
Right.
this is just doing a disservice to the mythology that you're drawing it from.
Right.
Athena, also another one I don't really feel that I need to know much more about.
Yeah. She had a pretty good arc. We're like, okay, we get it.
Unless it's going to be like more stories about Gilgamesh taking care of her.
Oh yeah.
Don't care.
Just watch a whole movie of him just feeding her porridge or whatever, and then every once in a while she tries to stab him with a energy spear.
Hmm. Just see him trying out new recipes and occasionally trying not to get killed.
Yeah. Brewing beer out of his own spit and corn or whatever it was. You guys ever try that?
No,
No, I don't have that much spit. I've got like chronic dry mouth.
not a huge corn guy.
Yeah, I don't like corn alcohol. Or like weird. What is it? Corn rye? Is that corn? I don't know. That's from rye, probably. What's
Mhm.
corn whiskey called? I don't know. Anyways, we're not gonna have a show next Monday because we're having a huge show on Saturday.
Yeah.
18 hours, 18-hour long marathon, Spider-Thon. I figured that out just yesterday. Spider-Thon. That's what I'm going with. 18
Not
hours.
spider
all-
thong. That's different.
Oh, that's different. I'm gonna.
Sunday.
Yeah, but if you jump on the our Discord sometime tonight, you're gonna see an AI generated series of images of Spider Thong, whatever that means.
I'll
yeah.
be on there.
Spider Thon this Saturday, all day from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. Hawaii time. All 8 Spider-Man movies, live action Spider-Man movies. We're raising money for the Hawaii Food Bank, so to see people there donating. Yeah, and then and we'll take the next Monday off, and then we'll be back Monday after doing other something.
We'll be
All right.
talking about something.
Something, not the next MCU movie though, probably.
Who knows what it could be?
Yeah, let us know. Comments, Twitter.
Yeah, if you
Discord,
guys
wherever.
have suggestions, please feel free to reach out and tell us.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, I would also like to point out that
Yeah.
I changed my handle because I finally was able to get at Chad Wago on
Right.
Twitter.
You murdered the Chad Wagoner.
I
In Mortal Kombat, you cut his head off and stick his powers.
I plead the fifth. I will not say anything on account of not wanting to incriminate myself.
Right.
But Chad Wagoner on Twitter is no more, or that particular Chad Wagoner. And now I am at Chad Wago.
Yes.
Nice.
That's the banner occasion. I'm gonna bake you a cake, put at Chad Wago on it.
Now you don't have
Yeah.
to do that. I have diabetes.
Oh no. Yeah, and also I don't know when the next time I'm gonna see you will be, so it'll just be a cake that sits on my counter in
Mhm.
4 months probably.
And
We
you'll
don't
have
see
to
each other
eat
in
it
person
yourself.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I can get the diabetes. Yeah. Also, we're all eating pizzas. We mentioned earlier we're all gonna eat pizzas of various sizes and ranking them. So
Mhm.
yeah, Saturday's gonna be a big day. See everybody there. We're going to
All right.
we're gonna write out on. You guys tell me which kiss you think this is from the movie. It's
Oh,
in,
that's
it's
the
in the
beginning
title.
of the scene.
Watch this.
Oh, where's the kiss at?
Dad, that's
Where they
Superman.
just
I
start
saw him on
chewing
TV. He
Jeez.
was in London fighting a monster.
You want me to go?
Yep.
happy.
It's jumping around. There it goes. Bye bye everybody.
Bye.
See you on Saturday for more kisses.